Atlanta teenager Falicia Blakely is counting on her new boyfriend to make all her dreams come true.
He was giving her this sort of fantasy. We're gonna go off somewhere to some other city and get a whole new start.
But Falicia learns the price she has to pay for his love is murder.
She was caught up in a mess that she'll never be able to reverse.
And in sunny San Bernardino, California, 19-year-old Kiesha Smith goes all out to impress her hustler boyfriend.
In his mind, they were like Bonnie and Clyde, and she was down for the ride.
And to keep him around, Kiesha dedicates her entire world to pleasing him.
It was a big decision for her to make if she was going to carry out these illegal activities.
She was willing to sacrifice herself and her life to protect her man, and she did.
By the time she's 16 years old, Jacksonville teen Falicia Blakely's had her fair share of troubles.
Felicia's father wasn't around. I had left him due to the fact that he started stealing and doing drugs, and I didn't want her or myself to be a part of that. So I left there, lived with my mom for a little while.
With her mother busy working to support the family, her grandmother takes over most of the parenting duties. The result is a rocky mother-daughter relationship until her mom makes a career move out of state.
Her mother moved to Atlanta for a job, and Falicia followed her here to Atlanta trying to build a relationship with her mother.
But the change of scenery doesn't seem to help. And after a month of living in the Peach State, Falicia and her mom are back at each other's throats.
She basically quit going to school, dropped out. That's when she really started changing, started being in the streets.
I didn't raise you like that.
And me and her were arguing pretty much every day.
Felicia's focus turns to making money.
She had a cousin who worked as an exotic dancer, a stripper up here in Atlanta, who persuaded Falicia that that might be a good life plan, that she should start dancing.
Despite being a minor, Falicia wastes no time finding work at a local strip club.
In Atlanta, you're required to have a permit establishing that you're an adult. She was dancing in some of those clubs without a permit, but fairly quickly secured a permit with fake identification papers.
What starts as a money-making venture soon evolves into something more.
Falicia was young and impressionable, so by stripping, in her mind, she was getting all sorts of attention from men, and it lifted her self-esteem, and it gave her validation.
But when Felicia's mother finds out, she's less than thrilled with her daughter's new path in life.
They had flyers that they were putting out. Felicia's pictures were on the flyer, and I found them. And it's just upsetting to find out that way.
When Betty confronts her, she insists that she has no intention of quitting.
Falicia said that in the state of Georgia, when you're 16, you're grown, and that gave her the right to strip because she considered an adult. So she ran away.
Falicia puts herself up at an extended stay hotel where many of the other girls from the club live.
Many young women who go into adult entertainment find that there is no exit. They become addicted to the money, to the attention, and it becomes a life where they get locked in because eventually they become abused in that industry.
I called legal aid trying to see what I could do. They said I could go downtown and file an unruly child thing where if anything happened, I wouldn't be in trouble, but I didn't want to do that. You know, I thought I could get her back.
Now out of the house and making her own money, Falicia falls hard for a DJ at another club.
In her mind, I think it was a real relationship, someone she cared about, and she thought he cared about her. But this DJ was stashing her in this motel for basically sex at his convenience. Falicia was 16 and young and unsophisticated. He was taking advantage of her.
A month after they start dating, Falicia finds out she's pregnant. But when she tells her new love, she doesn't get the reaction she's hoping for.
He did not want anything to do with Falicia or the baby, and he didn't stick around.
This is pretty devastating for Falicia. She's emotionally wounded, plus she's got a pregnancy to deal with on her own.
After 3 months away from home, Falicia moves back in with her mother. And finally, she gets the reaction she's been hoping for.
I was happy when I found out I was going to be a grandmother. I hoped that she would stop dancing, stripping. I thought it might bring her back to normalcy. I really did.
But Falicia has no plans of giving up her new life.
Falicia knew she had to provide for her and her child, so she continued to strip even while pregnant.
Desperate to make as much money as she can before the baby comes. the 6-month pregnant teen takes an opportunity to talk to a long-standing customer named Marcus, who she's seen around the club.
There was a fight at the club, and this regular was involved. So Falicia got him a bandage. He took full advantage of that introduction. He paid her to dance that night. He even paid her not to dance, and they just sat and talked.
Marcus seems to have a caring way about him, and Falicia feels an instant connection. Before she knows it, the mom-to-be pours her soul out to him.
Falicia told this individual that she was pregnant and that she wasn't going to be able to dance a lot longer. She was in need. She was in financial difficulties.
And Marcus seems to know just how to put Felicia's mind at ease.
He told her that they would get through this together, that he would take care of her, he would take care of the baby, and that's exactly what she wanted to and needed to hear.
They ended up exchanging phone numbers, and that was the beginning of their relationship.
But Marcus is not just a regular at the strip club. He uses it as a part-time office and recruitment center for hiring girls to work for him.
She knew he was a pimp when she met him. It was common knowledge in the club. He was pimping out some of the girls dancing in the club, so I don't think that was a big surprise to her.
Falicia was 16 years old when she went on to the pole. Even though she was part of the industry, she knew the pimps, they hung out where she worked, she didn't really understand who these individuals were and how dangerous that they could be.
Before Falicia gets a chance to see Marcus again, he gets arrested for battery and marijuana possession. But being locked up doesn't stop him from pursuing Falicia.
He called her every day. He was giving her money, sending her people to take her to work. He was essentially courting her from jail.
Basically, she took that to mean that he's going to look out for me no matter what. It just seemed to confirm her hopes for that relationship.
This made a huge impression on Falicia and made her feel wanted, but even worse, got her to be even more dependent on him than she ever was before.
3 months after Marcus is locked up, he's released from jail, and Falicia gives birth to her son. Then, a few weeks after, she settles into motherhood. As promised, he steps in to care for the new pair, treating both Falicia and her child like they're his own family.
That's when he introduced himself, and I hated him from that day forth.
He was taking care of her, paying the bills, even buying Pampers for the baby.
Less than a month after giving birth, Marcus encourages Falicia to go back to work and to once again move out of her mom's house.
He puts her in a motel. He has a babysitter in there, another woman, who is taking care of Felicia's baby when she's out making money.
They were living in a motel because that's where he kept all his girls. And even though Falicia felt like she was different, she wasn't.
Unlike the other women who work for him, Marcus continues to court Falicia and engage her in a relationship.
Falicia was slowly but surely being exposed to Marcus's pimp business. In many ways, he was beginning to desensitize her, and he did it in a very conscious way. This is what we call the grooming.
I would have tried to stop it, but I was under the impression that she was just gonna be home, raising her baby. I was happy.
5 months after Falicia moves into the motel, Marcus expects a return on his favors. He suggests she start tricking for him.
He was telling her that they needed the money to move out of Atlanta, buy a bigger house, raise a family together.
It's everything the now 17-year-old has always wanted. So she agrees to sell her body for money.
All of this for this pimp who was going to give her a wonderful life that she didn't have before. Falicia believed that she loved him and believed that this was a loving relationship.
He sold her a dream, so she did everything she could to please him. She was willing to do anything for her man.
5 months after 17-year-old Falicia Blakely moves in with her boyfriend Marcus in Atlanta, Georgia, he asks her to start turning tricks.
He was telling her that all this was just sacrifices that they had to undertake in order to get to the real ultimate goal of the good life. And she wanted to believe that in the worst way.
Determined to please him, Falicia upgrades her services and attempts to trick her first John right there in the club.
She met a guy, danced for him, offered sexual favors for money. He agreed. She took him to a back room.
But things don't go as planned.
As they start getting into it, he informs her he doesn't have a condom. So he says he's going to go get one and come back, but he never came back.
When Marcus picks Falicia up from work that night, she tells him what happened. And Falicia gets her first taste of her boyfriend's violent side.
He gets out of the car, comes around to her side, and to her complete shock, beats her badly.
She had witnessed some of the violence between her boyfriend and the other girls, but she thought she was different. She thought she was one of his special girls.
When you look at the relationship between a pimp and a prostitute, for the pimp, it's all about the money. He'll set some sort of a quota that she is supposed to meet, and if she doesn't meet it, then she will be severely punished.
She was one in a stable of women who were making money for him.
From that day forward, Falicia doesn't miss another opportunity to make money for Marcus again.
So fairly quickly, Falicia then ends up becoming a full-time prostitute. And she started getting accustomed to it. She got a little better at it. She actually got some regular customers. All of the proceeds are going to the pimp.
But the life is no place for a child, and Falicia leaves her son with her mother with little explanation.
She always wants to protect me. She doesn't want me to know everything, so I don't know what actually happened.
Over the next year, she becomes Marcus's top girl and is charged with training a new girl, 21-year-old Amisha Irvin. The girls are handed guns along with a gruesome new assignment. He wants them to start robbing their tricks to bring in more money. To avoid disappointing him or bringing harm to herself, she agrees to rob one of Marcus's top clients, Frederick Calloway, a known drug dealer in Orlando, Florida.
That really is an example of how loyal she was to him, that she was willing to carry a weapon and use it on someone else to take what they have to give to him.
Strapped with her new gun, Falicia and prostitute partner Amisha head down to Florida to complete their mission.
They went back to his motel room, and after sex, they robbed him, and Falicia shot him.
After Falicia shot him, they were so scared, they just ran out of there. They didn't even get any money.
Frederick survives the shot, but it paralyzes him from the waist down. He doesn't have enough information about Marcus's girls to name Falicia and Amisha, and neither one are ever pursued by police. Back in Atlanta, Marcus is furious they have returned empty-handed, and he makes Falicia pay the price for their failure.
He poured alcohol on her and lit her on fire.
It's not easy, as one may think, for Falicia to just get up one day and say that I'm out of here. I'm gonna get out of this abusive situation. At this point, her self-esteem has been destroyed. Her spirit has been crushed. She's afraid and she's under constant threat.
Fortunately, Falicia only suffers minor burns. She relies on the girls to help her make a speedy recovery.
Whenever he severely beat a girl or injured her, he wouldn't take her to the hospital. He made the other girls nurse her back to health.
They would stay in the motel room together and bandage up their wounds and wait till they healed up and go back out and start turning tricks again.
Once she's recovered, Marcus sends Falicia and Amisha out to make it right. He tells them to rob one of their regulars, Ray Goodwin. Felicia's upset because she genuinely likes Ray.
He was a listening ear when she had issues, but he always tried to encourage her to do something else with her life.
And to make sure Falicia doesn't get cold feet, Marcus calls her on the way over for some final encouragement.
Do what you gotta do. But get my money.
The pimp tells her, get that money. Don't come home without that money. You need to hit this lick. The phrase was always hit a lick. And I think what Falicia was told by the pimp, she understood to mean kill.
Get my drugs. Don't leave no witnesses.
Falicia had to make a decision. She either had to rob her friend to please her man or face his wrath. So she grew more and more desperate to get it right and to please him.
She may have seen it as a last chance for her to prove her love to the pimp.
When Falicia and Amisha arrive at his place, unsuspecting Ray has no idea that his life is in the nervous palms of Felicia's hands.
They start playing music and they start drinking and just basically passing the time while Falicia is trying to work up the nerve to do what she believes the pimp has told her to do.
Felicia's just about to make her move when Ray's friend, Claudel Christmas, known as Doc, knocks on the door. It's just the interruption she's been praying for.
So she got on the phone and called her pimp. Well, she was expecting for him to say that you don't have to do it. He, in fact, said no witnesses.
She pretty much had to do whatever he said. It was either them or her, that's all. And she didn't want to die.
She didn't hang up the phone. She went back in the room and kept him on speaker.
Falicia pulls out her gun and levels it at Doc.
What are you doing? Stop!
And later, in San Bernardino, California, Kiesha Smith, one-time girl next door, channels her dark side to keep her man interested.
Kiesha grabbed the pillowcase and put it over her head.
Ultimately, her love for him would be her demise. Everything that she did it for her man.
In Atlanta, Georgia, 17-year-old Falicia Blakely and her prostitute partner, Amisha Irvin, are tasked with robbing and killing two men by their pimp. Falicia knows she has to give him what he wants, or her own life is on the line.
She shot Doc in the right temple.
Whoa, stop! Please! Stop, don't.
She raised the gun on Ray and shot him several times.
Neither man had a chance.
Falicia picked the phone back up. That's when she heard her boyfriend and her pimp tell her, "That's my girl. Wipe the place clean and get out of there."
Falicia had the choice of chickening out. She didn't have to kill either man. But at this point, I believe she was so psychologically compromised, she felt that she had no other choice.
After all of that, after the lives of two men, including one who was friendly to Falicia, they only recovered a few $100s.
What the girls don't know is there's a silent witness to this brutal shooting.
Doc was on the phone at the time of the shooting. So the person he was on the phone with heard the shots and called Ray's sister. Ray's sister came to his apartment and discovered their two dead bodies and called the police.
DeKalb County, Georgia police immediately launched their investigation, but the girls, who are unidentified, are long gone. Back at the motel, Marcus is so unhappy by the meager take that he sends Falicia and Amisha back out to hunt down another victim. The ladies scour the Atlanta streets until they find a good mark. A man named Demetrius Twitty.
They're sort of attracted to Twitty because they observe that he's wearing a lot of jewelry. In their minds, that meant that he had a lot of money. They agree to go home with Mr. Twitty in exchange, basically sex for money. And they do go to his apartment.
Demetrius has no idea that he's just invited two cold-blooded killers into his home.
Falicia Blakely and Mr. Twitty go back into the bedroom. While that is going on, Amisha is going through the apartment, looking for things to steal, gathering things up. He immediately figures out that he's being robbed, and he gets angry. And that's when Falicia takes out her gun and shoots him multiple times and kills him.
Once again, the girls only find a few $100s in the apartment, but their big payoff is the man's car. They take it back to show Marcus. Tonight, he seems pleased.
He wanted her to commit these murders partly for the money, but partly sort of as a control mechanism. If she's killed somebody, he's got her for life. She can never get away from him. He's got something on her.
Keep it in your bag.
The following day, Marcus gets greedy and sends his girls out into the city on a week-long robbery spree.
They were successful a couple of times. They had robbed a few restaurants and gotten some money for their pimp.
10 days after killing Demetrius Twitty, the women think they may get away with murder. But DeKalb County police are called when a suspicious business owner overhears them in the bathroom, plotting to rob the place.
They actually tried to flush their weapons. They were arrested right there at the restaurant.
Police run the tags on their vehicle in the parking lot and trace it back to Demetrius Twitty. And the next day, when they question Falicia about why she's in possession of a dead man's car, she tells police everything.
She took complete responsibility for it. She took responsibility for it herself, and she said she was the shooter.
Not only does she tell them about Demetrius Twitty, but also about the murders of Ray Goodman and Doc Christmas, and the maiming of the Orlando man, Frederick Calloway.
This was a woman who had been destroyed by Marcus, completely subjugated and humiliated and made to feel less than zero.
Amisha admits to assisting Falicia while robbing all 3 victims.
Amisha also admitted her part in the killings, but what is unfortunate for both girls is that neither of them made any mention of their pimp's involvement in their behavior.
Hours later, her mother is shocked when Felicia's face is plastered on the nightly news.
I broke down and cried, prayed. Tried to find out where she was at. The first time I saw her, she was in DeKalb County Jail. She's sorry. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry. I asked her, "You okay?" She said she's doing the best she could.
Even behind bars, Falicia stands by Marcus, not letting on why she committed the crimes.
He took control of her when she was 16 years old, young and impressionable, and he groomed her, and he got her to be dependent, and he threatened her, he scared her, he destroyed her as a person. And so even though she was now facing this tremendous legal pressure, she still protected him and gave herself up.
A year and a half after her arrest, Falicia Blakely pleads guilty to multiple counts of armed robbery and murder.
She's 18 years old with a small child, and she's facing the death penalty, all because she wanted to please her man.
Amisha Irvin also pleads guilty to robbery and murder. They're each sentenced to life in prison. No charges are ever brought against the pimp who sanctioned it all.
He was arrested for some other trashy little stuff, but he's never been prosecuted. But he all but pulled the trigger. And he's still out there on the streets, still doing it.
Since sentencing, Falicia and Marcus have exchanged a series of letters over the years.
In a blind sense, crazy sense, she loved him, and she still does. And I don't understand why.
Despite her soft spot for her man, Falicia expresses deep remorse for her actions.
In court, she apologized to the families of her victims and hoped that they would forgive her.
She will talk to anyone, anywhere, to discourage girls from getting themselves in these kinds of situations, to see the dangers of this, and to try to prevent somebody else, some other young girl, from getting in this kind of a trap.
I have my daughter back. Even though she's in prison, she's not the person that she was when she's in the streets. I miss her. If I could see her every day, I would. I wish she was home.
Falicia Blakely regrets doing her man's dirty work, and she's not the only woman wishing she had done things differently. Kiesha Smith also got mixed up with a man who sent her into a downward spiral. In San Bernardino, California, Kiesha enters a rough life from birth.
She never really knew her father.
Kiesha was living with her mom, had a lot of problems with her, wasn't the greatest of places to be growing up.
Despite her broken home life, Kiesha wants to make something of herself. She dreams of opening her own hair salon one day. So at the age of 19, she starts attending Valley Junior College. That's where she meets fellow classmate 19-year-old Mike Mitchell.
Kiesha was the kind of girl who was timid, docile, shy, and reserved. She was very to herself. Mike overwhelmed her with his outgoing charisma and charming personality.
Hi, my name is Mike. They had an almost instant connection. Almost love at first sight.
That was a big boost to her ego. I think it was validation. It made her important.
But Mike and Kiesha couldn't be any more different. While she strives to make good grades, Mike uses campus life to expand his business.
Mike Mitchell had been dealing drugs for years. He used his big personality to sell drugs.
But that doesn't turn Kiesha away. Mike has her full attention.
Mike, he knew what he wanted. He was kind of a businessman. He was strong, and that's exactly the kind of guy that Kiesha Smith was looking for.
Even though Mike's choices with the ladies are endless, he puts his all into courting Kiesha.
Mike and Kiesha, in the early stages of dating, had a very affectionate and safe relationship. They rode the bus to and from school together. They walked to class together. They spent a lot of time together.
Just being young college students in love.
Kiesha quickly learns that trying to hold on to him will change everything about her forever.
She let him mold her into whatever he wanted her to be.
Timid 19-year-old Kiesha Smith is falling in love with 19-year-old classmate and drug dealer Mike Mitchell. 8 months into the relationship, Kiesha is ready to pick out her wedding dress. But the honeymoon phase is over for Mike, who finds himself longing for the thrill of his single days.
Kiesha notices that they're not spending as much time together, and Mike is not really paying as close attention to her.
And Keisha's willing to do anything to keep his attention.
She tried to look like the type of women that he was known for dating. She started wearing more revealing clothing. She wanted to look like his crowd.
Kiesha was changing her personality, her mannerisms, all to show Mike that she can be a little bit more edgy.
Once Kiesha got involved with Mike, it was going in the wrong direction for her because it wasn't about her feelings any longer. It wasn't about her self-esteem. It was all about Mike. Without Mike, she was nothing. And so whatever it is that Mike wanted, she was willing to do. She was willing to change her appearance in order to suit Mike. She was willing to change her face, wear certain clothes. All of it not for her, but for Mike.
Mike doesn't seem to notice Keisha's new edge, but she refuses to let him go. So she sets out to prove to him that she can be as bad as anyone in his crowd.
Soon after she made the decision that she was going to be a criminal, she was actually arrested for burglary.
She had no record before this. This wasn't characteristic of her behavior before being involved with Mike.
We all have that inner voice that tells us to do the right thing. And for Kiesha, I'm sure she heard that voice. And instead, she went and got herself in deep, deep trouble, all for the love of Mike.
Kiesha pleads guilty to felony burglary. A few weeks after the initial plea, she's released on probation and due to be sentenced in 3 months. Hoping she has impressed Mike, she's relieved to find her man waiting for her with open arms.
Once Kiesha was out, she reconnected with Mike. Keisha's arrest for the burglary was a rite of passage that moved her closer to Mike and more into his world.
The next month marks the beginning of a new semester. Kiesha doesn't re-enroll because of her pending sentence. Mike doesn't return either. Instead, he thinks Kiesha may be onto something, burglarizing homes.
If he robs these houses and sells what's inside of them, he can buy more drugs to make more money. The more drugs he has to sell, the more money he can make, and the cycle continues.
And he enlists the help of his girlfriend.
He proposed to Kiesha that they become this Bonnie and Clyde duo.
How do you feel about that? You're excited?
Yeah.
She was drawn in because she wanted to be with him.
Kiesha was already on probation, so that inner voice of hers, that conscience probably whispered to her, don't get involved in illicit activities because you can go to jail. But her love for Mike was so overriding, it dampened the voice that said, do the right thing.
2 months into Keisha's probation, she and Mike start casing houses, looking for the right one to rob.
They looked in the middle-class areas of San Bernardino where they thought they can get the most money, the most jewelry, or the most merchandise.
But Mike thinks they need more intel before choosing the right house. And Kiesha knows just who to ask.
Kiesha recommended a woman from her apartment complex, Sherry Beck, who she knew dealt in stolen merchandise.
Sherry had a reputation for using drugs, selling drugs, and stealing things to get more drugs.
In exchange for drugs, Sherry agrees to help, and she has the perfect house in mind.
Sherry was upset with her drug dealer, Derek Hassett. She felt like he had ripped her off, and she wanted to get back at him, so she recommended his house.
Sherry invites them to case the house and rides the couple past the place, pointing out all possible entry points. But she has one word of caution.
Sherry warned Mike and Kiesha that Derek lives at home with his parents and his grandmother. However, Sherry knew that most of the family was out of the house during the day, and she believed that she could lure Derek away from the house if she wanted to.
The next morning, partners Mike and Kiesha put their plan in motion. They park down the street from Derek's house and anxiously wait for Sherry to do her part.
Sherry went to Derek's house to distract him, talk to him, lure him, whatever she has to do. Mike and Kiesha are in the car watching the house.
Sherry was having trouble getting Derek to leave the house, so she was with him longer than expected. Mike drove past several times and began to get impatient.
And when Sherry fails to get Derek to leave, she splits.
Sherry told Mike and Kiesha that Derek wasn't leaving, and on top of that, the grandmother was still in the house. Sherry told them they should forget it.
Determined to keep their plan in play, Mike and Kiesha ignore her advice. And hasty Mike is about to lead Kiesha into the biggest blunder of her life.
There was no turning back. At that point, she had to prove that she was his ride or die.
She bought into this whole Bonnie and Clyde duo, and she would do anything just to make him happy.
In San Bernardino, California, just 10 months into Kiesha Smith's relationship with Mike Mitchell, the two are casing a house to rob, waiting for its owner to take off so they can go in.
So Mike and Kiesha are now driving back and forth, trying to figure out why Derek hasn't left the house yet. They're becoming upset.
They continue to stake out the house, and an hour later, to their relief, Derek finally leaves.
They got into the house because the back patio door wasn't locked.
Mike and Kiesha started ransacking the house. They turned the house upside down.
After cleaning out several rooms, Kiesha and Mike head to the back bedroom. That's where they startled Derek's grandmother, Josephine Kelly.
Please don't hurt me.
Mike threw a pillowcase to Kiesha and told Kiesha to put the pillowcase over the grandmother's head.
Don't hesitate, we don't have time.
No, I'm not doing this to her.
Keisha was the one at a higher risk because she was out on probation. She actually had more to lose.
This would be the very last opportunity that Kiesha would have to turn away and change her mind.
But Kiesha does as Mike asks. She places the pillowcase over Josephine's head.
Kiesha had pledged her allegiance to Mike and would do whatever it is that he needed or wanted. Even though she was on probation and the specter of her getting in trouble was near, she was just willing to go by her heart, to please her man, even if it meant harming an elderly woman.
Unbeknownst to Kiesha, Mike is carrying a gun. He slowly draws the weapon and points it in Josephine's direction.
For Kiesha, this was a game changer. She never knew that there was going to be a weapon involved, and she certainly didn't think anybody was going to get hurt, especially a 90-year-old woman.
Kiesha stands back and watches in horror as Mike strikes Josephine with the gun, after which Josephine remains motionless.
One of the most heinous things that you can do is to attack a defenseless senior citizen. So when Kiesha and Mike attacked Josephine, at this point, Kiesha knew that she was in over her head. After all, this is a young woman who had no history of any violence in her life. So now she was scared. Now she was in shock. Now she knew she was in deep, deep trouble.
Mike and Kiesha leave Josephine lying there and grab everything they can carry.
They had some money, some jewelry, coins, a foreign currency coin collection even, anything they could put their hands on.
Once in the car, Kiesha and Mike don't say a word to each other. They stop at a pawn shop to fence some of the things they've stolen and stash the rest back at Mike's place. Then Kiesha goes back to her mom's house alone.
She just witnessed Mike, the man that she loves, who she only planned to rob a house with, bludgeon an old woman. They had no clue whether Josephine was alive or dead. They managed to get out of there without getting caught.
The following morning, Kiesha is startled by what she's done when the television news reveals that Josephine Kelly is dead.
Josephine Kelly's body was discovered by her daughter after work.
Josephine had died of asphyxiation.
24 hours later, San Bernardino police are suspicious of Josephine's drug-dealing grandson. Derek Hassett should have been home at the time of the murder. With no other suspect, they arrest him for the killing of his grandmother.
After Derek was arrested, he apparently mentioned that Sherry was at the house, so then police went to go question her.
After hours of interrogation, Sherry caves into the pressure of the police investigation and turns on her would-be partners in crime.
Sherry told police that she pointed out the house to Mike and Kiesha and encouraged them to rob Derek.
Derek is immediately released, and Sherry, to her surprise, is also released for lack of evidence tying her to the crime. Meanwhile, Kiesha and Mike have no clue Sherry's been talking, They think they've gotten away with murder. But in a blink of an eye, everything will change.
Ultimately, her love for him would be her demise.
Weeks after San Bernardino, California couple Mike Mitchell and Kiesha Smith kill 90-year-old Josephine Kelly, the hammer comes down on them.
Police were suddenly at the door of Mike's mother. They raided the house, and lo and behold, they found stolen items from Josephine Kelly's house.
The police found jars of coins, foreign currency, and jewelry that had been missing from Josephine's house.
They also found Kiesha hiding in a closet.
His mother is shocked at what they're accusing her son of, but fast-talking Mike has an explanation for how the goods ended up with him.
Mike explained that he had done a deal with Sherry Beck, drugs for merchandise. Now, he wasn't sure where this stuff came from and says that he wasn't sure if it was stolen.
Because their star witness, Sherry Beck, is a known thief and drug addict, police aren't prepared to make the other charge stick, so they charge Mike with possession of stolen property. Kiesha is also arrested and charged with a probation violation. And in a stunning blow, Mike is released 15 days later on bail.
The prosecutor, in their discretion, felt that the evidence that was gathered was not enough to connect Mike, Sherry, or Kiesha with the murder of Josephine Kelly. The prosecutor did not decide to charge or prosecute. The case went cold.
Kiesha remains behind bars, and a few weeks later, she's sentenced for her initial burglary charge. She receives 4 years in prison. Her solace is knowing that Mike is still by her side, but it doesn't last long.
Initially, when Kiesha started serving time, Mike was visiting her in jail, but the visits became less and less frequent.
Eventually, Mike didn't see Kiesha at all. Mike moved on with his life, got another girlfriend, had a child, and got married.
Kiesha could have made a plea deal to get a lesser sentence in her burglary case, but she stands by her man. When she's released from prison 4 years later, she doesn't reach out to Mike and remains mum.
Remarkably, Kiesha still refused to tell authorities his role in the robbery and the murder of Josephine Kelly. Her loyalty to him remained.
She could have easily turned on Mike and Sherry, but she never did because she loved Mike. She was in that for the long haul. She wanted to continue to prove that she loved her man.
Kiesha threw her life away. At the end of the day, she was with someone who really didn't care for her anymore, who wouldn't even visit her in jail, who in fact just let her rot in prison.
But Mike's luck will eventually run out. 8 years after the murder, the San Bernardino police reopen the murder case of Josephine Kelly. They offer a $10,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest. That's when a witness contacts police.
The 10 grand reward apparently was enough for Mike's mother to come forward. She indicated to police that she overheard Mike and Kiesha talk about the murder and actually had inside information that never went public, and so police had a pretty good idea that she was probably speaking the truth.
Mike's mother may have needed or wanted the reward money and was willing to sacrifice her son to get it.
Mike Mitchell and Kiesha Smith are both charged with the murder of Josephine Kelly. Once again, Sherry Beck cooperates with police. She is arrested for her confession and cops a plea to voluntary manslaughter. Kiesha and Mike are tried together, and Kiesha comes face to face with the man she risked everything for.
Mike took no responsibility for anything and actually tried to convince the jury that he had never stepped foot in the house. Kiesha reverted back to the old Kiesha. She went inside herself. She would not say one word against Mike.
It's clear proof that Kiesha loved Mike. She never gave him up. That first year that they were together defined all the years after as to the love that Kiesha had for Mike.
Mike and Kiesha are both found guilty of murder and sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Sherry Beck is sentenced to 17 years.
When we look back at this tragic story, it's quite obvious that Kiesha had what it took in order to be successful in life. She had a decent family life, even though she wanted a better family life. She had love, even though she wanted more love from Mike. But she really did throw her life away. She threw all her possibilities away, and now she is paying the consequences of behavior. behavior that was motivated by a love that was built on deceit and murder.
She gave up everything for this man who basically gave her nothing. And now she's paying for it with the rest of her life.
Kiesha loved Mike so much that it made her blind to her own choices and responsibility that ultimately killed her dreams and everything that she wanted to be, all for this man.
In Dallas, Texas, Tasha Dunnigan is willing to do whatever it takes to provide for her man.
She came under the influence of this man, and he pushed her to become a prostitute.
But when Tasha's fired, her boyfriend talks her into a risky plan of revenge.
When she pulled her gun out and he immediately pulled his, that's when she started shooting.
She had no idea that this was going to ruin her life.
She wanted him to love her, so she would do whatever he wanted, no matter what he asked.
And later, in Los Angeles, nurse Connie Ickpo is known for her generous ways.
Everybody she came in contact with seemed to think that hers was being the perfect person.
But Connie and her pastor husband aren't as angelic as they seem.
This scheme was driven by unadulterated greed. So the minute she let Christopher in her life, she starts down this dark and narrow path.
In Dallas, Texas, Tasha Dunnigan has lived a hard life.
Tasha grew up poor, without a lot of family support. Tasha did not graduate from high school.
With a lack of education, it's not easy for Tasha to find steady work. For the next decade, she moves aimlessly from one low-paying position to another.
She wasn't the type of person that could go out and get a job working as a secretary. So in terms of options on making a living, she was really, really limited.
It limits you because in this market, everybody, for the most part, employers are looking for qualified applicants that have a college degree or higher.
By the age of 34, Tasha meets a handsome, smooth talker named Henry Sanchez, who sweeps her off her feet.
Henry did not have a legal job. He was a low-level drug dealer, and at the time, he was primarily living off of Tasha.
And to pay the bills, Tasha takes a job at a local 24-hour massage parlor.
On the outside, it was a massage parlor. On the inside, it was a brothel.
It was a great opportunity. I think that you should at least take a shot at it.
Henry convinced her that she could make more money than either of them could in any other job if she just started turning tricks.
Tasha was a victim of Henry's control. This was a person who ruled with an iron fist. He was completely in charge. Whatever he wanted, she did. She just couldn't stand up to him.
She really, really just wanted to make some money and make ends meet so that she can pay her bills and do what she needed to do.
Despite the illicit nature of the job, it's the answer to all their money problems.
What is that?
She was making a lot of money every day.
Over 1,000, maybe over 2,000.
And so she would bring that home and give that to Henry.
I'm so proud of you. Imagine how much money you're gonna make in the next few weeks.
When you live with someone who pressured you to become a prostitute, it beats you down. She loved him. And no matter how badly he treated her, she wanted him to love her. So she would try harder to do whatever he wanted, no matter what he asked.
That's my girl.
But after only a few months, Henry's gravy train comes to an abrupt halt when Tasha is suspected of pocketing some of the cash she was supposed to hand over to the business for herself.
You do know I need to see all your money.
That is all.
No.
The massage parlor's owner had a business of trust.
That is mine.
I clearly know it isn't.
He didn't want to give Tasha any chances. If he couldn't trust his employees, they were gone out the door right then and there.
So she was fired 2 months after she started working there.
It's a blow to Tasha, but she's more frightened by how Henry will react.
She was really devastated and heartbroken because she was losing the ability to make as much money as she had been making, and she dreaded telling Henry about this.
How are you?
He saw her as a meal ticket. She was someone to send out into the world and say, go make some money and bring it home so I can have shelter, and I can have food, and I can be with you when I want to.
What's going on?
As suspected, Henry doesn't take the news well.
They fired me.
You gotta be kidding me. What did you do?
Henry was in a fit of rage when he found out that she was fired. After all, you know, she used to make a lot of cash that she wasn't making anymore.
What am I gonna do?
I don't know. I need some time to think.
With their primary source of income gone, Tasha and Henry are back to struggling to pay their bills. A few weeks after the dismissal, they're in dire straits.
This is an eviction notice.
Financial situation had gotten to a point where they were about to be evicted from their apartment.
Pay the rent?
Tasha didn't have any place to go. Henry didn't have any place to go. They were very desperate for money.
You lost your job last week, and I told you we gotta do something about it. Did you go back?
His anger built and built, and he decided he wanted to get even with the people who took away their means of support.
No, it was my money.
Well, maybe we should.
No, we want to do that.
Facing eviction, Henry comes up with a plan that will solve all of their problems in one fell swoop.
Henry has an idea that will get revenge on Tasha's boss and also get them the cash they so desperately needed.
We gotta make this right.
He's going to hold up the massage parlor. Because of the nature of the business, a robbery would go unreported.
Because it was such a cover for a prostitution house, they certainly thought that if something like this were to happen, they wouldn't call the police.
You work there. You know.
That, coupled with Tasha's first-hand knowledge of the operation, will make it an easy score.
During the day or what?
Tasha knew the best time to go there. She also knew the layout of the building. She knew that they had no safe. And the way the money worked is the managers would keep the money in their pocket.
I mean, we would have to like force.
But Tasha will need some convincing.
How would we do that? They have guns.
Tasha said she didn't want to hurt anyone. He kept pushing her and pushing her and pushing her until she said yes.
Tasha felt like she had to do what Henry wanted her to do. She wanted to please him, keep him happy.
2 or 3 guys I've seen.
Tasha tells him the place is like a fortress. You need an appointment and need to be buzzed in.
The way that it works is that they knock on the door, an armed manager comes and escorts them inside. There, they find a girl that they would like to have the massage services with. And then once the service is completed, then payment is taken.
But you could go.
The plan was for Tasha to show up. She knew that the door was going to be locked and tell them that she had lost her cell phone charger. And then once inside, she was supposed to go to the back of the building and open a back door for Henry.
What about the gun?
Once Henry is inside, he will demand that the night manager hand over all the night's cash earnings. He doesn't want to take any chances with the armed proprietor, so he asks his cousin to go along for the ride.
So what's going on?
He got his cousin involved so he could have one more gun with him. One more gun means more control over what's going to happen once they're inside.
They would have the manpower to scare or perhaps overpower the one manager and make him give up the cash.
That's the best way to go.
We're gonna get this, Tasha.
It seems like the perfect plan, but Tasha's not so convinced.
She felt compelled. She had no other choice. She was facing eviction. They had no money. Tasha hopes that if she does exactly what Henry wants, nobody's going to get hurt.
A few days later, the trio puts their plan into action.
Tasha.
At sunrise, Henry hands Tasha a .38 caliber gun to put in her purse, and they drive over to the massage parlor a few miles from their home.
Robbing the place early in the morning also would have meant that the manager on duty would have had all the cash from their busiest time on hand. And since all their cash just went into the manager's pocket, at the end of that shift, it all would have just been sitting there, ripe for the picking.
Once on scene, everyone moves into position. Tasha rings the bell at the front door.
The manager looks out the window and sees Tasha at the door and lets her inside.
Tasha doesn't miss a beat, even when she spots another girl at the desk.
The only other person who was in the building when Tasha arrived is her friend Maria, who is another worker. And she had just come off her shift and she was in the lobby area waiting for her ride.
Did you need something?
Yeah, actually, I think I left my charger here.
Tasha says that she can't find her cell phone charger. She thinks it might be there somewhere. So could she please look around? And he says sure.
Outside, Henry and Timothy stand by for Tasha to open the rear door. Inside, Tasha keeps the lost charger distraction going, so she works her way toward the back. But there's a problem.
The night manager happened to look out a window, and he saw Henry and his cousin leaning up against a wall with their guns out like they were trying to hide.
And that's when Henry's perfect plan begins to fall apart. And what happens next will send Tasha's world into a death spiral.
What are you doing?
Unlock it.
They thought that this was going to be easy in, easy out. I think they thought that anything like this would happen.
Henry was everything to her. She was willing to risk everything for him.
The two of them together were double trouble.
In Dallas, Texas, just a few months after 34-year-old Tasha Dunnigan is fired from her job at a massage parlor, she lets her boyfriend Henry Sanchez talk her into getting revenge via armed robbery.
There were very strong elements of control and dominance in this relationship. And so if Tasha really wanted to stay with him, there were just certain rules that she had to abide by. So I think that it really took her down a wrong path. I don't know if she would have normally done had she not been with him and in this relationship.
They're desperate for money, and in his mind, this is the perfect plan to come up with quick money.
With their plan underway, Tasha waits for the right opportunity to let her boyfriend and his cousin, Timothy Johnson, inside.
It might be in the bag. Think we can check
There were no customers there at that time. It was just the manager and one of the girls that worked there.
But out of the gate, Henry's plan starts to unravel.
The night manager had noticed Henry and Timothy outside, so he was suspicious.
Suspicious, the manager senses a security risk.
And to protect Tasha, he takes her to the back door to let her out safely.
He opens the back door and he looks out and he sees two guys coming toward him.
The night manager quickly slams the door shut and locks it.
When he turns around, he sees Tasha holding a gun to him.
What are you doing?
Unlock it.
And he says, "Please don't do this."
Is this what you wanted to do, huh?
And he begs her to back down, and she does it.
Instead, the night manager pulls out his own gun.
Tasha was scared. Things weren't going the way they're supposed to.
Tasha panicked once the manager refused to comply with her demand to open the back door.
Henry was waiting for her to unlock the door, and she was willing to do whatever it took to make that happen.
Even if it means pulling the trigger.
The manager is shot in the stomach and he falls to the ground. At that point, Tasha runs away to let her accomplices in.
Tasha is so rattled at this point because she doesn't know whether the manager is alive or dead. And so the only thing she can focus on is making sure that Henry and Timothy can get into the back door. And whatever she does, she wants to make sure that Henry's plan is met to the letter.
Tasha, did you shoot him?
Tasha's former co-worker, Maria, watches in horror as the horrific scene unfolds in front of her.
She's hysterical.
Where's the money, man?
You know, she's really upset. She has no idea what was happening, and she now is a witness.
Where's the money, man? Come on. We're not joking, man.
The manager is wounded but still alive and takes cover.
I don't know where the money is.
He retreated to behind a counter that was there in the business, kind of used as a shield for himself.
Come on, man. Just give us the money.
With money on their mind, the robbers stick to the plan.
Henry and Timothy approach the manager and ask for the money.
I don't know where the money is.
And the manager says no, and they start a shootout.
When the bullets start flying, Maria cowers in fear.
So she was a liability. Timothy takes her into another room where he shoots her in the stomach.
Tasha's worst fears are coming true.
Tasha must have been scared out of her wits. She had so many things coming down on her.
Meanwhile, the gunfight between Henry and the manager spins out of control, and Henry is hit in the leg. The would-be robbers have no choice but to retreat empty-handed.
The whole plan had gone south. Henry was shot. He was bleeding profusely.
Still hidden behind the counter, the night manager calls 911.
I don't think they're expecting the night manager to defend himself or defend the business as ferociously as he did.
Timothy and Tasha get Henry back to the car.
We gotta get him to the hospital.
No hospital, no.
Tasha gets behind the wheel, but tries desperately to keep her wits about her.
The one thing she was really scared of came true. People got hurt. The manager was shot, her coworker Maria was shot, and now her partner, her significant other Henry, was shot.
With Henry bleeding out, Tasha can barely keep the car on the road.
So they realized that Henry's condition was life-threatening, and it wasn't as easy as just running away. They had to seek medical assistance.
Tasha finds herself in a no-win situation.
No!
Yes!
No, no hospital.
We have to go!
No!
Henry needs medical help. He's been shot in the leg, but at the same time, they need to hide from the police. So Tasha has a decision to make. Is this about her own safety and Henry not getting the medical attention, or getting Henry to a doctor or an emergency room at the peril of being caught?
This was not supposed to happen.
We gotta get to the hospital.
Man, do not go to the hospital.
He thought it would be an easy in and out job. Tasha did all of this in the end for the love of her man.
And later in Los Angeles, Connie Ikpo's man will give her a taste of the good life by having her make a deal with the devil.
So the minute she let Christopher in her life, she starts down this dark and narrow path.
This is a shell game, and Connie's an active participant. In fact, she's just all in.
Tasha Dunnigan has to choose between saving her boyfriend's life or getting away after a botched revenge robbery attempt in Dallas, Texas.
No hospital. This was not supposed to happen.
We gotta get to the hospital.
Against her accomplice Timothy's objections, Tasha drives straight to the emergency room.
Tasha wanted to save Henry no matter what the risk. If Tasha didn't care about Henry, she could have just taken him home and said, we'll try to get the bullet out.
I told you not to come here, Tasha.
We had to come.
No, just leave. Go somewhere else.
Nurse, please. Please.
No.
When they get to the hospital and pull over, Timothy flees. He runs.
That's when she realizes she's on her own.
Timothy knew that once they got to the hospital would call the police to report a gunshot victim.
Doctor, please help
But Tasha doesn't care.
Tasha's emotional state at that point was primarily focused on getting Henry to the hospital and trying to make sure he doesn't die there in the car.
No, please help.
Tasha loved Henry, and she did everything for him, and he's the reason that she did this. So she wasn't going to let him die, but she also risked her life by deciding to save him.
Somebody tried to carjack us.
You know how long
To cover their tracks, she lies to the hospital staff, saying they're the victims of a carjacking.
She's a survivor, so she comes up with an explanation as to what happened.
But what Tasha doesn't know is that the night manager at the massage parlor has survived, and he's called 911.
When the police arrive, they find Maria dead. The manager was able to identify Tasha and tell them exactly what happened.
I locked the door.
The manager was able to give the police her name and the description of the two men.
This description is almost identical to the report the hospital has already provided the authorities.
Henry has a gunshot wound, and it's hospital's protocol that when something like that happens, they automatically have to notify the police department.
At the crime scene, they get a report of 3 people showing up at the hospital, one of them with a serious gunshot wound, and they put 2 and 2 together pretty quickly.
By the time Henry is wheeled into surgery, Tasha is already in custody.
She chose to stay with Henry at the hospital. She knew they were probably going to get caught. I think that also kind of shows how deep her involvement with him was.
Tasha's whole world comes crumbling down on her because she doesn't know whether Henry's going to make it.
Why don't you tell me the truth?
Under interrogation, Tasha stands her ground.
My car.
Tasha tries her best to stick to the carjacking story, but there's too many holes in the story.
I don't know. We were carjacked.
But the news of Maria's passing definitely hits a nerve.
Maria's dead, and Tasha doesn't know whether she's going to prison for this. So Tasha's got to be devastated.
Tasha was very remorseful about Maria getting killed. In fact, Tasha had talked about how good a friend Maria had been to her during the time that she worked there.
And police have one more ace up their sleeve.
When a police officer tells Tasha that the night manager identified her as the woman involved in the robbery, she breaks down.
Make sure the scene of the crime.
Look, maybe I was there.
You know this.
After hours of questioning, Tasha finally admits to shooting the night manager at the massage parlor.
He drew a gun on me.
but claims that he drew his gun on her first.
She admitted to shooting him, but she said that she did it in self-defense.
I was going to leave out the back door.
And when push comes to shove, Tasha finally turns on her man.
This is all Henry's fault.
She points the blame on Henry because it was his idea, and he was the one who really started all of this. He was the one that convinced her of what happened and convinced her that they needed to seek revenge. And so she really blamed everything on him.
Like the night manager, Henry Sanchez survives his wounds and is arrested promptly after he is in stable condition. 2 days later, police track down Timothy Johnson hiding out in a Dallas motel.
The police had gotten a tip from someone on where he was, and that's where they found him.
A year after the robbery, a Dallas jury convicts Tasha Dunnigan of capital murder. She's handed down a tough punishment: life in prison without parole. Her boyfriend Henry Sanchez and his cousin Timothy Johnson each get the same.
This was really about her relationship with Henry. Under other circumstances, I don't know if she would have done this on her own. So she really did it all for him.
Tasha felt like she had to do what Henry wanted her to do. She wanted to please him, keep him happy, and he was just a very bad influence on her.
So many women get involved in bad situations. They do things for what they think is love, and they ruin other people's lives and they ruin their own lives.
Prison has a way of allowing people to think. I mean, after all, you have nothing but time on your hands.
And I walked to the back, he walked with me.
She was now far removed from that very domineering, dominating relationship that she was in with Henry. So she finally does come to the proper realization that he led her down a path of danger and a really screwed up life.
Trying to keep her boyfriend happy with a fistful of cash destroyed Tasha Dunnigan's life. In Los Angeles, Connie Ikpo is all about getting money for nothing in the name of everlasting love. Even from a young age, Connie seemed destined to be an overachiever.
Connie was raised in Nigeria, a very hardworking single-parent mother who raised her kids to be very hardworking. They were very pressed on getting an education, which they all seem to do.
By her early 20s, Connie becomes a nurse in Nigeria, helping those in need.
She was industrious. She was well-liked. She was a hard worker.
A decade later, Connie yearns for more. And during a fateful trip to America, she decides to take a leap of faith in Houston, Texas.
She came to visit a cousin of hers who was living there, and she got interest in wanting to stay, enrolling in the university there.
The 35-year-old immediately gets to work, building a whole new life for herself by continuing her education in the healthcare field.
She was confident, she was responsible. She was in school for something all the time, whether it was a bachelor's degree, which she needed to get here in the United States, or her master's degree, which she did complete.
Connie is like a lot of immigrants who come to this country. They come for a better opportunity. She knows what she wants. She knows what she has to do, even if it means working harder than her peers.
But Connie's also determined to enjoy her new life by spending time with friends and relatives. And it's during one of these gatherings where Connie is introduced to a fellow Nigerian who's in town visiting from California.
Christopher was a Nigerian citizen, migrated to the United States, seemed to be somewhat successful in the hair salon business in Los Angeles.
The two instantly bond over their mutual desire to help those less fortunate.
They both were in the same community circles. He was doing volunteer work, which certainly appealed to Connie's nurturing caregiving side.
Did this when you were in Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
Connie's attracted to Christopher primarily because they share the same culture. They both come from Nigeria. He's been in the States longer than she has, so he's already started working and making something of himself. He's achieved some success. And for her, This is the ideal guy. This is a man who is ambitious just like she is.
Shortly after their first meeting, Christopher returns to LA. But the distance only makes their love grow stronger.
They had a long-distance telephonic relationship for a number of months and other subsequent visits. Finally, she moved to Los Angeles and they moved in together.
He immediately proposes. They go back to Nigeria to be married, and they come back to LA to begin their lives.
Connie quickly settles into her new life with Christopher. She takes a job as a nurse, and Christopher continues to run his successful hair salons. But the couple isn't satisfied with just achieving their own personal success. They want to make a difference in the world.
Christopher and Connie were already very well respected in their communities.
And Christopher already knows how he wants to give back. He tells Connie he wants them to become ordained ministers and open a storefront church.
They convert one of the salons into their church. Connie likes the idea of becoming a pastor.
People call them Pastor Chris and Pastor Connie. And the name of their church was Arms of Grace Church.
But when Connie puts her faith in her man over God, her sins will destroy her life forever.
Christopher and Connie are not the angels that they thought they were.
And their church will become the perfect cover for $1 million bamboozle, for which Satan himself would be proud.
This scheme was driven by unadulterated greed.
Nigerian immigrant Connie Ikpo is living the American dream in Los Angeles, California. Not only has she married the love of her life, Christopher Iruke, but her husband is determined to share their good fortune through a storefront ministry.
It was a church that opened its arms up to a community that was in need, a community that looked like people that were coming from that part of the third world, coming from Africa, coming from Latin America, looking for a church home.
And Connie works around the clock to make sure nothing in her life falls through the cracks.
Connie was busy doing everything. She's busy at work, she's busy with the church, doing food drives. She's trying to do it all.
There's a part of Connie who wants to prove to Christopher that she can do the hard work. So she's doing everything that she can to get this church up and going, because at the end of the day, she really wants to please him.
2 years after the church opens its doors, the pews are packed.
God is good, not just Sunday. God is good.
And the couple adds to their responsibilities by bringing a new addition into the family.
Connie and Christopher had a girl that they adopted from Nigeria. They're both working, they have the church, and on top of that, they're trying to raise a child. And they're making it all look easy.
So easy that Christopher decides to start a ministry to serve those with disabilities. A healthcare company named Pascon.
The medical supply company that Christopher opens actually provides medical supplies to folks that need them.
It's the same community which their church serves as well. For Christopher, it's synergy. With his skilled wife at his side, Christopher is confident that Pascon will be a success.
There's a lot going on in Connie's life, and certainly a lot on her plate. She does want to help the community, but even more importantly, she wants to help her man. She wants to help Christopher reach his vision.
Their main customers are Medicare beneficiaries.
Medicare is typically for those that are of low or below income and that do not have medical insurance or over the age of 65.
At first, the business seems to stall.
Any new business typically will have a slow start because you're brand new, no one knows you're there.
But then as word gets out, the customers begin to trickle in. And the company's biggest ticket item is a powered wheelchair with a hefty $6,000 price tag.
If I was a member of the community and I had medical insurance, I could go to Connie or Chris and say that I have been prescribed to have a wheelchair. And can you get that for me?
Now, to need a power wheelchair, you need to have serious medical conditions. It needs to be based on the prescription of a doctor who thinks that you need it.
To capitalize on their most profitable item, Christopher starts purchasing large quantities of these wheelchairs at wholesale prices.
They get a wheelchair for $1,000 wholesale. They pay another $1,000, and then Medicaid reimburses them $6,000 for the actual chair itself, and they end up pocketing the remainder of that money.
Thank you. All right. You're welcome, sir. I'll see you soon. All right.
and Christopher starts seeing a profit of thousands of dollars a wheelchair. In fact, the venture is doing so well that Christopher wants to open a second company, and he wants Connie at its helm as sole owner and CEO.
Connie opened up the second company called Horizon, which did the same exact business. She was the 100% owner, the manager, the operator of it.
And between the two companies, over the next year, the money starts rolling in.
They bought a nice house in a very nice neighborhood in Los Angeles. They both drove nice Mercedes. They sent money overseas to buy real estate.
It is the American dream. So everything seems to be going just the way they want it to go.
You go from going to work every day as a nurse to becoming a millionaire. Very drastic lifestyle change.
Connie couldn't be happier with their newfound fortune. But behind their success, the couple is hiding a dirty little secret.
As it turns out, it's all a scam. They are committing a fraud.
Christopher has figured out how to make that money, and Connie's gotten a taste of the good life, and now she is hooked. So now she is going to follow her husband's lead.
Can investigators bring their ride on Easy Street to a dead end before they cover their tracks? Los Angeles church leaders Connie Ikpo and Christopher Iruke live the good life after opening two successful medical supply companies.
They provide in mobile wheelchairs, and they would submit those claims to Medicare.
For each wheelchair, they're making $4,000. Over time, this is millions of dollars. And it looks to everyone as they're building an empire.
But what these angelic entrepreneurs have really built is a house of lies.
They are committing a fraud. They are selling wheelchairs to people who just don't need them.
It was a get-rich scheme by ripping off Medicare, which operates on the honor system and is vulnerable to disreputable people.
While they keep up their appearances at their church, they no longer keep up the facade of the medical supply company.
It was a medical supply company that had no walk-in clients, no cash register, not the type of thing that you would expect to see if they had a legitimate business supplying medical supplies to the public.
It's a complicated scheme that works in two demographics. First, the couple lies to potential patients, conning them into buying wheelchairs that they don't need.
They would tell community members that Medicare was going bankrupt, and so that they would not be able to meet their immediate medical needs, and they may want to go ahead and buy a wheelchair now.
Some patients did receive the wheelchair. When you would go to their house to look at it, it would typically be parked in the garage or a corner of the house, collecting dust and never having been used.
And if their targets can't be persuaded to actually purchase a chair, they pay them for their personal information.
A lot of times they would also, just in exchange for their name and social security number, buy them things that they needed.
Even worse, they're taking advantage of the same group of people they claim to be helping, poor immigrants, many of which are members of their own congregation.
There's a number of things that made them so easy to convince. There was a language barrier. They're immigrants. They're not really familiar with how processes work. They're pastors in the church, and that they're from a vulnerable population. Someone that is very respected in your community asks you, then of course you're going to comply.
In phase 2, Christopher buys up bogus prescriptions from shady doctors to submit to Medicare.
Doctors are being paid who are signing off on these false prescriptions.
Once people start getting large amounts of money from Medicare just by filling out some fraudulent paperwork and delivering wheelchairs, it's a lot of money really quickly, and it's hard to stop.
And it isn't just Christopher getting his hands dirty. Connie is supporting her man's illegal deeds every step of the way.
She was just as involved, submitting the documents that she needed, which means that she's fully aware that she's paying a middle person for the prescription.
In Connie's mind, she can justify what's going on with this illegal activity. They're sending money back to family in Nigeria, and they're making a difference in their community.
Over the next 3 years, the couple continues to preach about sin, but commit it on a regular basis. And it's their blatant disregard for appearances that finally puts their medical supply businesses on investigators' radar.
As you dig into some of these companies, indicators of fraud become apparent. For example, a company that's only delivering one type of equipment, as in this case, the most expensive possible equipment, power wheelchairs, and not delivering manual wheelchairs, canes, walkers, other types of things that you would expect to see a legitimate company to supply. They were finding trouble with the billings, and they were questioning the necessity of the wheelchairs that they were being delivered.
The investigators begin looking for proof, prescriptions, that all of these wheelchairs are attached to people who truly need them.
With investigators hot on their heels, Connie and Christopher will stop at nothing to protect their lavish lifestyle.
It was too late now for Connie to back out. She was now entangled in a web of lies.
I don't think she was willing to get caught.
Pastors Connie Ikpo and Christopher Iruke's Medicare scam has made them millions of dollars. And the couple is desperate to keep living the dream in Los Angeles.
Chris Iruke and Connie Ikpo were greedy, and they wanted to get as much money as possible, and they weren't going to let the Medicare rules or regulations or anything else get in their way.
Connie's got a lot to lose. She's worked so hard for everything, and she's afraid of losing all of that. But more importantly, she's afraid of losing Christopher. And that's why she's gone along with that scam.
Look, we gotta do something to help ourselves.
Alerted that Medicare officials are on the lookout for them, Connie and Christopher try to stay one step ahead of investigators.
Because if we don't, we're in trouble.
They begin to now understand that they are really being scrutinized and that they now are going to have to begin to do some things to keep themselves out of jail.
Panicked, the couple closes the businesses in an attempt to throw investigators off their trail. But they aren't about to turn their back on their millions.
After shutting down Pascon and Horizon, Christopher opens up 2 new stores and just picks up where he left off.
They know that they can't put the new companies in their names, so they cover their tracks and recruit others into their scheme.
They use 2 names from members of parishioners of their church.
They open a new storefront and get back to business as usual.
It's a cat and mouse game. They're trying to avoid getting caught, and they do that by operating under different ownership. Medicare would have no way of knowing, based on the paperwork, that these were all Christopher Iruke and Connie Ikpo's company. They would appear to be other people's companies who don't have the same issues.
And that, again, is another scam.
Connie really should put her foot down, but instead, she's just going to blindly follow along with this scheme.
For the next 6 months, the plan seems to work, until Christopher gets a call from one of his employees.
An investigator shows up to the medical supply store asking for Chris. Of course, the folks that are there give him no information whatsoever, but do get word to Chris that there is an investigator that's looking for him.
Christopher calls an emergency meeting with their co-conspirators in a park down the street from his house. He's got to figure out how to cover their tracks.
What I do know is that we're in this together.
They give them instructions about not to talk to the police. They give them what we would call throw phones. They come up with code words.
Christopher orders everyone to use their untraceable phones and not to tell police. But what he isn't aware of is investigators have been digging into the couple's lies.
Myself and the agents would go interview some of these beneficiaries who bought wheelchairs, and they would do jumping jacks for us. And so these aren't the types of people that need the power wheelchairs.
A week later, investigators prepare to strike. And Connie and Christopher realize the clock is running out. So they try to erase any evidence connecting them to the scam.
At some point, the medical records were all moved into the church.
Connie spearheads the shredding party. She gathers parishioners and pays them to begin shredding files.
If they get caught, not only is she going to lose this lifestyle that she's become accustomed to, but she's going to lose her man, and that's something that is not on the table for her.
But the feds are waiting. After months of watching them, with a search warrant, they raid the church.
And they seized all the records, including the shredded documents.
Finally, Connie Ikpo and Christopher Iruke are arrested and charged with Medicare fraud.
Connie and Chris have never admitted to their crimes. They both have maintained their innocence.
6 months after her arrest, Connie is convicted of conspiracy to commit fraud and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Christopher is also convicted of conspiracy to commit fraud and 17 counts of healthcare fraud. He's sentenced to 15 years in prison.
They both are responsible for $6.7 million, I believe, to reimburse the government.
Connie took a vow to honor her husband for richer and for poorer, and she took that oath very seriously.
Christopher is the one that led her down this path. He introduced her to the business of Medicare fraud, and I don't think she would have thought of this on her own.
Everybody loved Connie. So obviously this would be a grave shock to the community that she supported for so long.
She certainly at any time could have stopped. She could have shut the whole thing down, but she chose not to. I think the true victims are, unfortunately, the community members of their church and the government.